I'd like to call the January 17th, 2019 meeting of the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency Board of Directors to order. Madam Clerk, please establish a quorum.
Matt Conant, Nick Avdis.
Here.
Tom Barandis, Brian Holloway, Cyril Shaw.
Here.
Angelique Ashby. Here. Jeff Harris.
Here.
Rick Jennings.
Here.
Sue Frost. Don Natoli. Susan Peters.
Here.
Patrick Kennedy.
Here.
Lisa Nava.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Great. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of SAFCA is being broadcast live and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14 and will be re-aired on Saturday, January 19th at 2 p.m., again Sunday, January 20th at 9 a.m. This meeting is also webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv, and streaming video of the board meeting is available on SAFCA's website within 48 hours after the meeting. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker form located on the table at the back of the room and bring it to me. When addressing the board, please identify yourself for the record, limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please speak directly into the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I have no speaker slips for items not on the agenda, so
I
please.
do not. Our
No?
first item would be closed session, and the directors will recess to hearing room 2.
All right, recess for closed session. Madam Clerk, please reestablish a quorum.
Matt Conant, Nick Avdis.
Here.
Tom Barandis, Brian Holloway, Cyril Shaw.
Here.
Angelique Ashby. Here. Jeff Harris.
Here.
Rick Jennings.
Here.
Sue Frost.
Here.
Don Natoli.
Here.
Susan Peters.
Here.
Patrick Kennedy.
Here.
Lisa Nava.
Here.
We do have a quorum. First up, we would have a report out on closed session, Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators regarding property at 4110 Garden Highway. Negotiating party Surendra D. Sharma, Uttara Sharma, and Sunil D. Sharma under negotiation price and terms of payment.
This board unanimously voted on motion by Director Jennings, seconded by Mr. Harris, to approve staff's recommendation on acquisition of the property, details to be made available when it's reduced to writing.
Thank you. Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators regarding property at 4106 Garden Highway. Negotiating party, TBS Family Limited Partnership, Mahindra D. Sharma and Sylvia Sharma under negotiation price and terms of payment.
The board unanimously voted on motion by Director Harris, seconded by Director Natoli, to acquire the property on staff's recommendation, details to be made public when it's reduced to writing.
Thank you. And next we have election of officers for the SAFCA Board of Directors for 2019.
My, how a year goes by. In any event, I'd like to lay some quick ground rules. So the chair will open up nominations for the position of chair, and I'll take nomination. No seconds are necessary. I'll just take votes in order of nomination received. So with that, I will open up. Mr. Holloway, I see your hand up.
Please nominate Jeff Harris.
So I have Jeff Harris for chair.
Second.
I have a second. Anyone else? Seeing none, I think that, do we actually need to have a voice vote? Do we? So all in favor of Jeff Harris as chairman for the 2019 year? Aye. With that, I'd like to hand it over, but before I do, I wanted to say a quick thanks to everyone, my colleagues. It's been a tremendous opportunity to serve and a real pleasure to serve as chair this past year. I definitely want to thank the men and women of SAFCA. Definitely want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank Congresswoman Matsui, certainly Dawson and Associates and the Gualco Group, together doing really the hard work of avoiding a natural disaster whose consequences could be immeasurable. So just want to say thank you, and with that, I couldn't think of a better person to take the helm at this point in time. Mr. Harris,
Thank
the
you.
gavel is yours.
You want to switch seats? Well, Board, I want to thank you for giving me this vote of confidence. As you know, much of the work that SAFCA will affect in the next year is directly in my district, and I appreciate the ability and the position to work directly with the Army Corps of Engineers to come to a great conclusion for tremendous flood control projects for the entire city. I'd also like to thank Nick. I think he's done a great job as chair. And, you know, he's really carried the ball forward and is clearly very concerned about flood control for the city of Sacramento and our entire region. So, Nick, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And, of course, Nick already thanked everybody else who needed thanking. And they do. You know, staff does a tremendous job to carry this forward and to try to protect our neighborhoods. Okay, the next item of business will be the election of vice chair, and as Nick said, we take nominations, and they actually don't need a second, but if you feel so moved, go ahead, and Director Peters.
I'd like to nominate Patrick Kennedy.
Very good. We have a nomination for Supervisor Kennedy and several seconds. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of Patrick Kennedy as Vice Chair of SAFCA 2019? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We have new officers. Thank you very much.
Comments from our Vice Chair?
His comments are generally thank you.
There you have it. Next item, please.
Next item of business is the Executive Director's Report for January 17th, 2019.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris, members of the board, Rick Johnson, Executive Director. I do want to take one moment and thank Chair Abdis for all your work. I mean, as I go through this in a minute, you'll see what an incredible year it was in 2018. And thank you for all your hard efforts to make that happen. And look forward to working with Chair Harris. And going this year coming up is a challenging year to use all the funding and get things going that we were provided. So thank you very much.
Well, it'll be an exciting challenge.
Yes, it will be. So I thought I'd hit right up front what the partial government shutdown is having on us. The Corps of Engineers is funded, so they are working on their projects. However, we are starting to see some impacts. Some of the regulatory agencies, such as Fish and Wildlife Service and NOAA Fisheries, who have to give biological opinions before some of our permits can get given out, they're not funded. And so, for example, last month the board approved us moving forward with advertising for cleaning up the Bright landfill. Before we can go to construction, we do need some permits that require the biological opinion from the Fish and Wildlife Service, and since they're not working, it's not moving forward. So we are starting to see potential impacts there that could affect us. Now, you're all aware last week around Thursday, we started seeing some national news media indicating that the White House had directed the Corps to look at possible funding sources for to pay for the border wall, and they were looking. He was directed to look at unencumbered Corps of Engineers funds, and specifically, the reports indicated they were looking at the supplemental funding that was provided last year for disaster relief. Right now, we've been working very closely with Congresswoman Matsui and folks back in D.C. Mike Strun's been working this hard. It appears at this point that in order for this to happen, the president would first need to declare a national emergency and then also seek sources of funding using available funding. So we haven't, it's gotten a little more quiet this week, so we don't have a lot of new information. I did just get off the phone with Congresswoman Matsui's office just right before I came over. She has contacted the Assistant Secretary of the Army R.D. James, and she's supposed to hear back from him tomorrow. We did have, Mike Strawn had a discussion with Corps headquarters on Friday. What they told us at that time was that the administration was looking at all kinds of options, but that no decisions had been made on either the declaration or on the source of funding, and that no particular projects had been singled out, and that they were still moving forward full speed on our projects. I did put this map up just so you can see where most of the money is. If you look, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida have huge amounts of the supplemental funding. California and Puerto Rico are the other two. So those 5 areas are the ones that really have the bulk of the funding there. California got just under $2.5 billion, and we got $1.8 billion of that. So again, we're just going to have to see what happens. We're trying to. I've been talking to our colleagues in Louisiana to see what they're hearing, and pretty much we're all getting the same information. So this is troublesome. It does go to the point as to why we need to keep things moving and expedited and get the funding encumbered, because as long as it's out there, it could be a potential target. So before I go on, I'll just see if anyone has any questions at that point.
Any questions from directors? Well, I'd just like to make a comment. You know, this is a bit editorial, but it calls into question the business acumen of our chief executive, because the investment in flood control would seemingly net much greater results than a barrier to the south. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. I did want, since it's the start of the year, I wanted to review a little bit what all accomplished last year, but just take a second to just remind us why we're doing all this work. That's our system, Folsom Dam, upstream on the American River, 106 miles of levees, and then the Sacramento Weirin bypass and the Yolo bypass are really what protects Sacramento. We've got the 6 authorized projects, the 3 in white we've have finished essentially. We're in closeout mode with the Corps of Engineers. We've got Natomas and Ward of 2016 under construction, and we should start on the raise this year. So why do we need all this work? Just a reminder again, we've got 500,000 people in these deep floodplains in the most at-risk city in the country right now. So that's why we're pushing so hard. So the components of all these projects fit into a couple of categories. When we get a large storm, we have to store it to some degree and then pass it safely down through the system out to the Golden Gate. So it's a combination of fixing the conveyance and the storage there. So the first thing we're having to do, because of, first of all, the levees were never really, many of our levees were never really engineered to start with, but then after Hurricane Katrina and the new standards came when they found that seepage under and through the levees were causing some of the failures, we're having to go back and deal with the seepage to get the levees to handle what they were originally designed to do. This shows us, this was just 2 years ago in the pocket area in 2017, that it hadn't rained there for a week or so. That's water coming up under the levees and into the people's yards, and that's a couple blocks off the levee off the river. So that shows, and because the houses are there, we can't see if it's moving material or not. So that's kind of troublesome to us, and that's the type of thing that we're trying to address with these projects. The other part of the conveyance is the levee slope stability. During the 17 storms, all throughout the system, there was a whole lot of levee failures on the land side from slopes that were too steep. A lot of those old levees, they just have slopes too steep for, based on the material they're built out of, and when it gets wet, we have situations like this. This was here in Sacramento County, where they had to evacuate Tyler Island. This was a landslide failure from too steep of slopes. And so Natomas has a number of areas there where we have the real steep slopes on the tall levees. We can't afford to have this happen in Natomas and have to evacuate there. So that's those are the two main items that we're covering with the levee work. And then we're having to harden the banks as the river starts moving towards the levees. Back in the gold mining days, we're still a victim of that. When they did all the hydraulic mining upstream, all that material for decades has been coming down. So when they originally built the levees, they built them close together so that the speeds would keep up and that material wouldn't fall out. We've since built dams like Nimbus Dam and Folsom, which has cut that material off. High flows rivers feed themselves, and so they've eaten down to bedrock on the American, and now it's starting to eat sideways. So we saw an example of this. This was the '86 flood event here in Sacramento. That's the Cap City freeway down there. On the left side is an aerial, the same area in '68. You can see there was a bench there with a row of vegetation and a road at the bottom over on the right levee, and on the left there were a whole string of trees. We lost all that during the '86 flood event where it cut into the levee, and kind of dangerously we didn't see that because it was underwater. So that's part of all the work we're doing, is trying to find the areas where that could happen again and prevent that from happening. In addition, we're trying to increase the capacity of the system to convey more floodwaters. The current capacity is 115,000 cubic feet per second, and we've designed the system to handle 160,000, so that's included some levee raising and some other work. When we get down to the mouth of the American River, the capacity of the Sacramento River north and south of the American River is the same. So during large flood events, the water actually flows over into the Yolo bypass through the Sacramento-Weirin bypass. Since we're increasing the release capacity, we need to widen that. So those are all some of the things that we're doing to increase the capacity. And then we designed the joint federal project, the new auxiliary dam, to be able to handle releases of 160,000. And then on the storage, we made the reservoir, the existing storage, more efficient with a new auxiliary dam and spillway, and then now we're embarking on raising the dam 3.5 feet. So those are all the things that all these projects are doing for us. When we're done with them, it'll take us from, in some cases, we're less than 100-year in a lot of areas, to about 300-year level protection when we're done with all that work in most of the areas. So that's what we're moving forward. So I just wanted to hit on how important what happened in 2018 was by giving just a few high-level milestones for comparison there. '86 is when we started with the flood event, and actually in October of '89, SAFCA was formed, so it's our 30-year anniversary this year. In the early '90s, the Corps started fixing the levees to the standards they knew at the time, and SAFCA also did some work in the north area. '94, we entered into the agreement with Bureau of Reclamation to purchase more space, basically, in Folsom Dam for floods. And then we started getting the authorizations in '96 for the American River work. '97, we had our 5th record flood in 46 years. Then followed up by a couple of authorizations in '99 for South Sac streams, and the Folsom Dam work, which was at the time enlarging the existing outlets. 2004, we had the authorization for the raise, and then in 2007, when the enlarging the gates didn't work out, we had the authorization to modify that to the auxiliary spillway there. And then 2007 is also when the Corps upped its standards for the levees, and so SAFCA started moving forward on the Natomas work. The 2014, we got the Natomas authorization. 2016, awarded 2016 authorization, and started completing projects in 2016 with work on the American River, and then South Sacramento streams in 2017, and the JFP. So by 2017, since the flood events of '86, we had put about $2 billion into the system. So 2018 was a record year for federal funding. It was a combination of the supplemental work plus the fiscal year 18 appropriations were delayed until calendar year 18, and then the 19 appropriations were passed on time. So we actually ended up getting $1.9 billion worth of federal appropriations in the calendar year 2018. At the state level, there was $170 million put in for a cost share of urban projects for core urban projects, which we will get a big chunk of that. So about $2 billion was made available in 2018 with a goal of putting that in place over the next 5 years. So it really able to move forward the potential for our protection. Just visibly, I wanted to show you this. At the end of last year, the green is the part that was completed. The yellow was the part that still needed to be complete. And then right now, at the end of this year, all the red is what's gone to construction or is about to, and the blue shows everything that got funded. So we really made a huge leap in 2018 as far as that goes. SAFE made a commitment in getting those funds that we would do everything we could to help move things forward. The top three are our main role of clearing the path, as that's getting the real estate, the relocations, and the encroachments out of the way. So at the board meeting on the 21st of February, we'll be bringing a resource plan as to how we're working to do that, and also a plan on the real estate, giving an estimate of what we think, how much is there, how many encroachments are there, about when they'll be coming forward, and our plan for addressing those. So just we'll be bringing that next month. I just want to introduce everything this year. We've got a lot on the plate. And again, this next board meeting will be here, and we'll be working with Chair Harris as to where we're going to meet next year, and then take that at the February board meeting for next year. So see if there's any questions.
Any questions, comments? Thank you very much, Rick. Great synopsis. Next item.
Next is consent matters, approving the summary for December 20th, 2018.
Entertain a motion for minutes from last meeting from Director Shaw and second from Director Jennings. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Consent carries. Next item.
Separate matters, item 4, resolutions authorizing the executive director to amend design agreements for the Folsom Dam Raise project. Resolution 2001-9001 approves an amendment to the design agreement between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the California Central Valley Flood Protection Board, and SAFCA for the American River Watershed Folsom Dam Raise project. Resolution number 2019-002 approves an amendment to the local design agreement between Central Valley Flood Protection Board and SAFCA for design of the American River Watershed Folsom Dam Raise project.
Okay, me again. This one is a little confusing, so I'll take a few moments just to explain what it is we're talking about. This is for the raise. Now, so back in '86, when Congress directed the Corps to start looking at things in the valley here, it was all being done under the American River Watershed investigation, and all of our authorizations have basically come under that. That was started before the requirement for cost share for feasibility studies and engineering and design activities from a non-federal sponsor. So the Corps early on grandfathered in a lot of the work where they covered it 100% at the federal cost, with the idea that when we went to construction on projects, they'd recoup that. And so they've been calculating what that is, and they've been calling it sunk costs. So just real quickly, just how we calculate that. So the very first report that was done back in '91 recommended to Congress a dry dam at Auburn with some levee work. Congress came back and told the Corps to do some additional analysis on that, resulting in the supplemental information report in '96, which again recommended a dry dam at Auburn with levee work, but also examined alternatives at Folsom. Congress and the administration didn't recommend Auburn, but they did pick the levee work that was common to all the alternatives, and thus we got the term American River Common Features. That's where that came from. Those two reports were originally done 100% federal cost, and they led to, in part, to 4 of the authorizations. So those are being, they've already collected some of those sunk costs for the 3 projects that have already gone to construction, and then the raise is also getting part of that. In '99, Congress directed the Corps to quit looking at Auburn and just look at what they could do to add more space to Folsom. Resulted in the long-term study that was done in 2002 that led to the authorization of the dam raise as a 7-foot dam raise at the time. So all the costs for that report are sunk costs that we're collecting under the raise now. In 2007, an EIS was done jointly with Reclamation and the Corps. It covered the construction of the joint federal project, and also covered the dam raise at a 3.5-foot level instead of 7-foot. And then the post-authorization change report covered changing Folsom modifications from enlarging the 8 outlets to the auxiliary spillway and the 3.5-foot raise with that in conjunction. So those were all done 100%, and those costs are split between the JFP and the raise. And then there's been some design work on the raise that was done since then that became a sunk cost. So in 2017, the board approved, and we entered into a design agreement and a local design agreement with the Corps and the state to basically start cost sharing the work so that we could quit accumulating these sunk costs. And then last year, the board approved entering into a project partnership agreement along with a local one with the state on that, and we're still trying to get that executed. So we've been collecting some funding every year under the normal appropriations, and then the supplemental had about $216 million to finish the raise project. On an expedited schedule. The problem a little bit is the rules and conditions for the 2 types of funding are a little different, which is complicating the agreements, and a little bit with the state, the pots of money they're paying for it. So the Corps and the state are working out 3 options. One where we'll amend the design agreements to collect all the sunk costs. One where we'll collect all the sunk costs under the PPA, and a combination of the 2, and we're hopeful we'll get the final decision here soon. We're trying to make ourselves ready to be able to support however it goes. The current design agreement's about $18 million with about 6.6 of the non-federal sponsor costs. Corps still calculating the sunk costs, but we've seen numbers as high as $28 million. That'll be shared 70% state, 30% SAFCA. So we've got 2 resolutions there today. The first one would approve us amending the design agreement if that's the way the state and court decide to go, to be able to collect those sunk costs, or to allow us to pay them under the PPA or a combination of the both. And the second resolution just has us modify the local design agreement to reflect the changes in the design agreement. So I went through that fast. I know it's a little convoluted, but see if there's any questions there.
Questions? Entertain a motion for the resolutions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion
Director Holloway.
by Director Holloway, sorry, and the second by Director Natoli. Very good. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That one carries.
Item number 5, resolution number 2019003, authorizing the executive director execute amendment number 8 to contract 1153 with SOMAS for surveying and mapping services associated with levee accreditation of the North Area Streams levees, American River levees, and the Sacramento River levees from the confluence of the American River to Freeport and Beach Lake levee and floodwall system to the Union Pacific Railroad.
Good afternoon, Pete Gelfi, Director of Engineering. This is an amendment to an existing contract for services that are being requested by the Corps of Engineers. As Mr. Johnson laid out, there is a lot of money that the Corps has to execute work. They are not going to staff up to do all that work, and they are looking to their cost-sharing partners to see if they can assist in these efforts. Some of the surveying work down in the pocket area, we are being asked to help assist them with, and so this agreement is modifying the existing contract with SOMAS per an agreement we have with the Corps to provide services. The funds we expend here will count towards our cost share of this project, so we'll get credit for this activity. And there'll be a couple of other items that will follow this as well, where we are seeking to provide services to help the Corps advance this work.
Very good. Questions?
Move approval. Second.
Move approval by Director Kennedy, second by Director Abdus. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
Item number 7, resolution number 2019005, authorizing the executive director to execute an engineering services contract with Northwest Hydraulic Consultants for engineering and associated services for erosion assessment and design associated with improvements identified in the American River Common Features General Reevaluation Report.
So she read item number 7.
Exactly. We
I'm
skipped
sorry.
6, Lindy.
Excuse me.
So item 7 is similar to before. This is work for analyzing erosion issues on the Sacramento and the American River system. We are trying to advance work for next year on the American River. The Corps of Engineers needs assistance in putting together design packages. So this contract includes that, as well as assessing erosion potential on the Sacramento River system.
Item number, I'm sorry.
So, any questions, comments, motions?
Move approval.
Moved by Director Jennings. Do we have a second? Second by Director Kennedy. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None. Motion carries. Back to number 6.
Item 6, resolution number 2019004, authorizing the executive director to execute amendment number 5 to contract number 1199 with GEI Consultants, Inc. for engineering and associated services for improvements along the Sacramento River East Levee between the mouth of the American River to Freeport.
Again, this is a contract where Safeco is going to take the lead with construction of improving the levees along the Sacramento River in the pocket area. Corps of Engineers, when they receive their funding, wishes to take over that construction effort, and so they need to take our design drawings and modify them to fit the Corps standards for plans and specifications. And this is a task where the Corps has requested us to use our engineer to make that conversion to the plans. And this contract would cover that. And again, these are costs that would count towards our cost share of the overall project.
Very good. Questions, comments, or a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Director Jennings, second by Director Natoli. This was an important one for your district, Rick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item
Thank
number
you, Mr.
8,
Gelfi.
resolution of necessity number 2019006, authorizing an eminent domain action to acquire certain real property interests in Sacramento County Assessor's Parcel number 274-0092-019 for the Natomas Basin Project. Property owner Salvatore J. Marino or his successors, trustee under revocable trust agreement dated October 24th, 2002.
Mr. Chair Harris and Directors John Bassett, Director of Engineering, as read, this would be a resolution of necessity to acquire real property. The property is located along the American River North Levee in the Reach Eye area, and I think the cursor will show each eye is down at the bottom of attachment A, which is on the staff report. The particular property in question is between Northgate Boulevard and Truxell Road, so it's kind of right where you see this label here. The resolution would authorize the acquisition of an access easement through this parcel. There are 4 parcels involved in this resolution and the next 3. where we are trying to connect this parcel and this parcel, who would lose their access ramp due to the Reach I improvements that the Corps will undertake, and provide these two properties with an access area easement to get out to Azusa Street, which is over here. In addition, the project needs to relocate utilities that are along the slope of the levee, relocate those down to the toe of the levee. So the acquisition, again, along all four parcels, would be to acquire an electrical and communication facilities easement along four of the parcels. The one in question is 274-0092-019 here under the first resolution. Attachment D to the staff report is the actual construction drawing that the Corps has in the Reach I Contract 1 contract to construct the driveway in and the turnaround that would allow both garbage trucks to come in, as well as police and fire trucks to get access to the two properties at the end of the turnaround. Attachment E, as well as E1, E2, and E3, describe the project and the need for the acquisition. Attachment F is a June 2016 letter that Safeco sent to the property owners advising them of the project and the need to, that the project would affect some of their properties. Attachment G is a September 17th letter from Safeco to the owners that indicated that we were preparing an appraisal for the required acquisitions. Attachment H is a summary of the right-of-way agent contacts with all of the owners, all four of the owners, regarding the acquisition. Attachment I is a December 10th, 2018 formal offer letter for the, which presented an offer to acquire the easements for the full amount of the appraisal. And then attachment J is a notice to the owners of the hearing today on consideration of the resolution of necessity. I can take any other questions the board may have. Mr. Marino is in San Jose, so he is not here today.
Okay, thank you, John. I do not have speaker slips. Was there anybody in the audience who wanted to address this item? Seeing none, do we have any comments from directors, questions about the resolution of necessity?
We still need to open the public hearing.
Go ahead. No, these are not public hearing items.
Well, it's a notice of hearing. It's not it's a slightly nuanced, no, you do not need to open the public hearing and close it.
Okay, thank you for that, Director Shaw. So since we do not need to open and close a public hearing, we can entertain, can we take a motion for all four at once, or do we have to do them separately?
I believe you should do them separately.
Okay, so starting with item 8 for that resolution of necessity, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Director Abda and seconded by Director Kennedy. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Number 9.
Item number 9, resolution of necessity number 2019007, authorizing an eminent domain action to acquire certain real property interests in Sacramento County Assessor's parcel number 274-0101-014 for the Natomas Basin Project. Property owners are Salvatore J. Marino or his successors, trustee under revocable trust agreement dated October 24th, 2002, as amended. Lawrence C. Bracco and Teresa Consulo Bracco as trustee of the Teresa Consulo Bracco Living Trust, dated September 13th, 1996.
Thank you, Lindy. And of course, you know, we heard the presentation on all four of these RONs, so motions?
Motion from Director for this resolution? Move approval by Director Peters? Second by Director Frost. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Yes.
I would ask if anyone wanted to speak on that matter.
For each one? Yeah, so the offer remains for this resolution of necessity and the following two, if there's anybody who would like to address them, if they could make that known now. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 10. Is that a yes?
I'm sorry, item 11 coming up, parcel 16, which is all part of this.
Yes.
I do have a question on, so I don't know if I should wait.
Yeah, why don't you wait till we get to, so are you talking about item number 11?
On the agenda.
On the agenda.
Which is parcel 16.
March 17.
Partial 17.
Okay. So parcel number 274-0101-017?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move ahead with item number 10 then. And on the following one, we'll entertain comments.
Item number 10, resolution of necessity number 2019008, authorizing an eminent domain action to acquire certain real property interests in Sacramento County Assessor's Parcel Number 0101-016 for the Natomas Basin Project. Property owners are Salvatore J. Marino or his successors, trustee under revocable trust dated October 24th, 2002, as amended, and Larry Bracco.
Okay, comments from directors, comments from the audience? Seeing none, do we have a motion? Move approval by, you're going to kill me, Director Holloway. And second by Director Jennings. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, and item number 11, please.
Item number 11, resolution of necessity number 2019-009, authorizing an eminent domain action to acquire certain real property interests in Sacramento County Assessor's Parcel Number 274-0101-017 for the Natomas Basin Project. Property owners Larry C. Bracco and Teresa Consulo Bracco as trustee of the Teresa Consulo Bracco Living Trust dated September 13th, 1996.
Very well, and if you'd like to ask your question, you can do so at this time.
Lindsay, can you bring that?
I was just wondering if the presenter could speak.
Can you come forward and speak into the mic, please? And please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Teresa Consulo Bracco.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I would just like to know specifically a little bit more about the need to close the access ramps to Garden Highway.
Mr. Johnson, you want to take that? Mr. Bassett? Please go ahead and address that question if you would.
So as shown, this is the parcel in question, parcel 274-0101-017. There is a ramp, actually two pieces of a ramp. One comes down from one side of the Garden Highway, and then if you're going to go out of the properties, you come up the other side. That provides access to the 016 parcel and the 017 parcel. The improvements that the Corps of Engineers will be constructing in this area of the project will be the cutoff wall that is along the center line of the Garden Highway, which they will do this summer. As part of that construction, the Garden Highway will be closed, in this case on about a 6-month-long period. So during that period, there will be no other access to get down from the Garden Highway to these properties. So we are providing an alternative access to get them out to Azusa during for sure during the 2019 construction. Long-term, under the Reach I Contract 2, the Corps of Engineers will conduct some additional levee stability improvements where they will flatten the slope of the levee making it, it's steeper than 2-to-1 right now. They will flatten it to the 2-to-1 slope so that the levee is more stable. And then they will construct a access road for operations and maintenance activities along the levee, kind of in this area, which will go through the location of the existing ramp. And because the levee gets flattened and we need the roadway there, the ramp has to be removed because of the combination of those improvements. If you left the ramp, you would have to widen the levee footprint out so it would encroach into and come real close to the residential structure here, because the levee would have to be, the ramp has to be created outside of the levee improvements, the levee section, so the toe of the levee would move in and would likely touch the corner of the residential property there. So we are proposing that long-term, not only just this summer, but that long-term access to these parcels is out to Azusa as the best way to address the access to these parcels long-term.
So, Ms. Consuelo-Brocker, does that answer your question? It's really a matter of engineering and practicality from the point of view of the Army Corps of Engineers.
A new road at the base of the levee for maintenance.
So that we get
You
this
can't
on the
hear me?
record. I can hear you, but everybody
Yeah, we would like to hear you as well.
So just so I understand, I think what you were describing is that where the existing ramp is at the toe of the levee, you will put a new road for maintenance? Did I hear you say that?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, and that's something that I didn't know that would be there, but this road will just be for Safeco, not for public use?
It will not be for public use. It will probably primarily used by RD 1000 in maintaining the levee slope and in patrolling during elevated river levels.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Another question?
Yeah, this is Larry Bracco, the other owner, and he has a question about the property address. Currently is a Garden Highway address. Will the address be reassigned or not?
Give me 1 moment. Safeco doesn't really have any control over addresses for properties. That's the U.S. Postal Service. We are working with the U.S. Postal Service to not only address this property, but another property along the Garden Highway with a similar issue, and they have not yet informed us as to how they may or may not reassign the addresses for these properties.
Okay. Fair enough. I would like to point out to directors that, should we accept the resolution of necessity, of course, Safeco will continue to negotiate these smaller issues with the property owners and hopefully can bring them to a successful conclusion without perfecting an eminent domain situation, as is always, our hope, and I think that there's reasonable possibility we can get there on those items. Director Natoli.
Yeah, just very briefly, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your work on this as well. With the acquisition, then does that acquisition include the access rights to the Garden Highway? I mean, we talk about the engineering practicalities of doing a driveway and a service road and flattening the levee out and how that may impact the existing residents and or other uses that are currently on the property. But does the acquisition then embody that as well, so that access rights to the Garden Highway are included as part of that? Or in the future, if, say, the parcel that represented by the lady here, if there was going to be something different done there, they could establish or reestablish, because they already have access rights off of Garden Highway. But is that part of the acquisition? I guess that's my question.
The acquisition is to acquire the, whatever rights that the owners may have in the ramp, both 016 and 017, to the Garden Highway. I'm not going to get into the details, but there's another property that is about 30 feet in width between the Garden Highway right-of-way and this parcel that is owned by a third party.
Okay.
So we are acquiring the two property owners' interest in the ramp.
Is that the blue line?
No, it's just
Oh, it doesn't show it on this map. It's just in there?
just in there. It's, say, from where, if you can see my cursor,
Yes.
from there to the right-of-way with the Garden Highway here,
Oh, there, up there.
that's a totally separate parcel.
Oh, okay.
So I won't comment on existing rights across there.
All right.
We are, whatever they are, we're acquiring them.
Okay. And that's part of the valuation?
Yes, that's
Okay.
included in the valuation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Natoli. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Move the item.
Moved by Director Peters, and I'll go ahead and second. So we have motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much. That motion carries.
Item number 12, resolution number 2019-010, approving contract documents and authorizing the executive director to advertise the contract for bid for the American River Watershed Project, Natomas Basin, Reach I Contract 1, Asbestos Pipe Removal Project, Sacramento County, California.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, John Bassett, Director of Engineering. As read, this would be for the Reach I Contract 1 in the portion of Garden Highway under the Interstate 5 bridges. There is a 12-inch city water line and a 24-inch city water line. The 12-inch water line is asbestos material. The Corps cannot touch the asbestos material because if it's disturbed, it's considered hazardous. So Safeco is responsible for removing that section of pipe, and this would be the set of contract documents to allow us to go and bid that work.
Okay, very good. Any comments or questions? I will go ahead and move the item as it's in my district and important to move the project forward expeditiously. And we have a second from Director Avdis. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Well, that concludes our active agenda. The rest is receive and file. Do we have any comments from directors? Anything? Okay, we stand adjourned at 4:02. Thank you very much.